Thank you for taking your time today. I'm very happy to hear all of your insights. So yeah, maybe you can start by telling us a little bit just about yourself and what you're doing.
Sure. So my name is Chris. I'm a world traveler. I love traveling. I always have. And during one of my travels between 2012 and 2017, I ended up working in Thailand in very close contact with elephants. And because it's like their biggest challenge is the loss of habitat due to deforestation. So I started planting trees first down there in the national park area just for fun. And then things grew and grew, and a lot of people wanted to support it. So it turned into a company. And these days, we oversee various reforestation projects all across the globe. And our main focus is to make sure that it is a holistically sustainable. So, for example, we don't work with volunteers. Everyone we work with gets a fair remuneration for what they do. And secondly, we always ensure that it's also profitable for the partners we work with. So we work with different companies across the globe. And since we do live in a capitalistic system, we need to make sure that they also profit from this engagement, because only then it becomes a sustainable long-term engagement. And that is what we're aiming for, because forests don't grow overnight. So, and we're very happy to understand that it actually works and that all participating partners profit from the engagement.
Yeah, cool. That sounds really nice. And so, just a little bit generally about biodiversity loss and sustainability. Was that the first time that you actually started to get engaged with it and started to be interested in it, or was that already before?
It mostly happened in Thailand. I always grew up sort of responsibly. My parents telling me to sort out the trash, for example, and not waste energy, and rather take a bicycle than riding a car and stuff like that. But then again, because I am a travel lover, I also flew across the globe like a jet setter. So I never gave it that much thought. And then in 2012, suddenly I ended up in this beautiful national park, rainforest, jungle area in the south of Thailand. And then, of course, you think about it every single day, because we also guided some tourists around, and they, of course, ask you tons of questions about everything. And you don't have a choice but to actively think about it. And that is when I mostly became engaged, because I also think once you understand things better and you spend more time with them, you start loving them more. And that is what happened there.
Definitely nice. So, does that mean you also travel less now, or?
I definitely travel less by plane. I mean, well, last year I didn't travel by plane anyway, but yeah, generally, I'm thinking about where I could go, whether I can do it more by train, for example. Also, when I came back to Germany, first I worked as a marketing consultant for various companies across Europe. And that's why I based myself in Frankfurt, because it has a massive train station. And even if you go to London, you can take a train. It takes a bit longer, but you take a good book, you take some music, and chill out in the train, super comfortable. There you go. So, yes, I
Yeah.
definitely travel less by plane.
Okay, cool. And generally, what do you think that we, like, as individuals, can do to kind of protect, especially biodiversity?
There's a lot of things we can do. um, I personally think the most important is to talk about it, and talk about it frequently with friends and family, and just make it a topic that is in everyone's mind. At the moment, everybody talks about the coronavirus. If everybody would talk as much about biodiversity loss, I'm pretty sure there would be a lot more measures to actually stop it. The challenge is that quite often we lose biodiversity without realizing it. Oh yeah, another frog in the Amazon just died out. Who cares? I've never seen that guy, and I probably never would have. Um, but yeah, it just happens on a massive scale, and nobody, well, few people realize it, but that way, because it just happens, without us realizing. It's not that suddenly my clothes disappear or something. It's something out in the forest, and if I walk through the forest and you see an animal, you're happy, but if you don't see an animal, you don't necessarily think, oh my gosh, I think they all gone extinct. But, I think the easiest one to spot is if you actually do ride a car at some point. I remember back in the days, my parents, we had the windscreen full of insects, and there was so many insects on the windscreen. These days, not anymore. So yeah, I think talking about it and informing yourself about what you can do, and then start with the simple small steps, like eating bio food, for example, already makes quite a difference. Thinking about your own CO2 emissions and things like that, and then all the small steps add up to quite a big difference.
Okay, nice. And do you think the government, like, who do you think has the most responsibility in doing that? The government, businesses, or we as individuals?
That's a great question, because I always think everybody gives everybody else the responsibility,
Yeah.
but in the end, yeah, it's us, each and every single one of us, because if we demand stuff, then politicians will change their course and businesses will change their course, because we are the people who have the power. And it always sounds like I read it on a calendar sheet or something, but it is true. And I think that is why in Germany, for example, there's a lot more unpackaged food, for example. There's a lot more bio food. There's a lot more vegan offers, because people buy it. And then businesses produce it because businesses want to produce the stuff that people buy. Otherwise, they go out of business. It's that simple. And if we're really honest, then yeah, probably the businesses direct the politics to a certain extent. And we can, of course, cast our vote too at times. And if then all of us work together in the end, then it works.
Okay, yeah, cool. So let's do that. And and a little bit more about your business. How did you come up with the idea, and how was the process of founding a green business?
It was a very gradual process. To be honest, I never had the vision of becoming a founder, or something like that. So when I sat there in my national park in Thailand and felt a bit helpless about all these elephants losing their habitat, we back there teamed up with the national park authorities and started planting trees, just to feel less helpless and to do a little bit at least. It was a few hundred trees. It's not that we changed the planet, but at least we
Mm.
felt good about it and we did a little bit. And because I have my background in the tourism industry, we found a few tourism operators who said, "Hey, can we chip in? Can you plant a few hundred trees for us too?" And for us too. And yeah, here. Everybody wanted to have a few hundred trees, and suddenly it amounted to a few thousand trees, which was good. And then it grew bigger and bigger. And suddenly I thought, okay, well, maybe I should give it a legal framework. And I founded a
Mm.
company for it. Back then it was called Bed and Tree, because it was mostly for the tourism industry, and every time you would book a bed, we would plant the tree, so to say. And it was this one website, where you just linked to, for example, Booking.com or the Best Western hotels. And just go to the website, you click on Booking.com, and then you place your booking, and in return they pay us like a remuneration for the marketing efforts, which we would invest into planting trees. And I then joined a mentoring program in Berlin called the NPAC mentoring program, and my mentor was like, "Oh, that's so simple. It's like clicking a tree, So you go and click a tree." I'm like, "Yeah, that's true." So we rebranded it to Click a Tree, also because it gave us more playground. You could now work with a lot more different industries, and it wouldn't be just confined to the tourism industry. It could be basically anybody.
Okay.
We're very happy these days because, as you know, tourism is suffering a bit over the last year. And
Mm.
we're very happy that we have a lot of other partners, from the fashion industry, from mobility sectors, from beauty and cosmetics and stuff. And thanks to their help, we can keep all the projects running and keep paying all the salaries to the workers on the farms.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. So your customers are mainly businesses, right?
Correct. Yeah. So you could go to clickatree.com and plant a tree. Some people do. But of course, there's businesses, who plant thousands and thousands of trees, which makes a much bigger impact. Then again, as we mentioned before, if the responsibility lies with each and every one of us, then yeah, whoever listens to this, go plant a tree, brag about it on social media, tell all your friends,
Yeah.
and then force them to plant a tree as well, because that way the wave gets going and the forest starts growing.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. And so, do you give like any sort of maybe certificate or something that then the businesses can put on their flag or?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, once they tell us, look, can you plant like 1,000 trees with us or something? They get a certificate. I personally never see much sense in them, but a lot of people value them quite a lot.
Mm,
And yeah, usually also at the end of the year, we give people like the certificate and say, look, this year you planted 2,317 trees with us, together with the 1,400 trees from last year. This is 3,700. I don't know how much. So, but yeah, so they can keep track of that, of course. And if they want, we can track the CO2 that is captured with that. For example, we can tell them how many work hours they created, and all of that then helps them to promote their efforts towards their clients.
okay. Cool. And where are the different projects located?
We're planting across the globe. We've planted in 13 different countries to date. The currently biggest projects would be in Ghana, in Thailand, and on the Philippines. So it's mostly the tropical regions, because planting trees is cheaper there, the land is cheaper, and labor is cheaper. B, because we don't plant with volunteers, we pay all the people. And I
Mhm.
think the jobs are more dearly needed in these areas. And then C, because there's no winter. So the trees can grow all year round, which means they grow a lot faster and hence they absorb carbon a lot quicker than they would here in Germany, for example.
Okay. And how do you kind of like monitor this progress here from Germany? How do you see that the people are actually like planting all the trees and that everything's going the way it's supposed to be
It's a
here?
very good question because that is at the heart of what we have to do, monitor it, and then, of course, also report that to our partners, what is going on. So that of course happens with regular reports. What's going on? How are the developments? What are the survival rates of the trees? How many trees are in the tree nursery? How many are out in the field? All these things. What types of trees are they? Just by pestering people to give you super detailed reports, you actually get them to work because it's harder to invent these things than to actually just do the work. We ask, of course, for a lot of photo and video material, A, to check what's going on, but B, also because our partners use them to promote their engagement to their clients. And that is still one of the things that I use the plane for. I go visit those projects, um, usually once a year, sometimes once every other year, and see that everything is happening as it should. We're now also thinking about working more with polygons and stuff like that, or satellite images. Is always development in progress.
Okay, cool. And do you work particularly in areas where there's also biodiversity loss in all of those, or so species?
Uh, it's not that focused, I wouldn't say, because to be honest, biodiversity loss happens pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere.
It
Yeah.
also happens here in Europe, maybe just not on such a massive scale, because in general there's just less biodiversity here.
Mhm.
The rainforest, and, the Amazon holds, or like the tropic regions. I think they have over 90% of our planet's biodiversity or something like that. So we don't go in and say, oh look, how many animals have been killed here so far, or something like that, because I think it's needed in pretty much all areas of the planet. So we rather look for where can we find reliable partners, and where do we need to do also social good. So it's not just about biodiversity, but also about creating the jobs, and fighting poverty, for example, for the people that we employ and who can then feed their families and send their children to school and stuff like that. Because also I think education again helps to fight the loss of biodiversity.
Yeah, definitely does. Yeah. And what are like what were kind of challenges that you faced just in generally founding a business?
Oh, there's many. The main challenge for us is, of course, always to find reliable tree planting partners. So we're quite happy that we overcome that and we have reliable partners there. Um, but that is more specific to Click a Tree. So about the founding the business itself, I think the main challenge is perfectionism. and you always think, oh gosh, things need to be perfect, and I need to create the perfect website, and then I need to make the perfect product launch, and I need to find this many Facebook fans or newsletter followers or something like that. And things will never be perfect, you just start and you put something live. These days I'm a big fan of just publishing basic stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
improving over time, because no matter what you think is perfect at the moment, it's entirely outdated in 2 years' time. So in 2 years' time, you look back anyway and think like, oh my gosh, did I really publish that? Oh, the website looks horrible. How did I dare? And so why not just jump to the cold water right away, and publish something, because then you have something to share. Maybe you create a website, for example, or something to share with your friends or with potential investors or whoever you're after, and you can show them, look, this is what I'm doing, this is what I created. What do you think? And then you can continue developing with real life feedback and actually develop something that people find useful, which is much better than developing something for 10 years and then realizing nobody actually wants it or needs it. So, yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is always perfectionism, and it still is a challenge to overcome it. So you always need to remind yourself, come on, let's just keep going, keep pushing, and just, yeah, do stuff. It's better than think about it for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And Click a Tree is located, you guys have an office or something in Germany?
The officially registered address is my parents' house.
Okay.
But we mostly work location independent, because also back when I founded it, I still lived half in Thailand, and I didn't know where I would settle. So it was important to me that you could run the business from anywhere on the planet. Also, when we started, we had people working for us on 5 continents. So I guess founding an office then would have been a challenge. These days, I'm based in Frankfurt, or in Offenbach, which is right next to Frankfurt, and we have a small office here. We have our core team here with 4 persons, and we
Okay.
meet usually outside of Corona once a week, just to meet, discuss everything that's going on, go for lunch, have a bit of this social interaction as well, and
Yeah.
we all got along super fine, so that's good fun. And then once a month or something, we go party. But most of the time, people work from home because it's much easier, and most people are more concentrated when they work from home.
Yeah. Nice. And when exactly did you found the business?
The first version of it in September 2018.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And how was Corona for you guys? Was that kind of maybe even like a boost, or was it very bad for the company?
It's a bit of both, because historically we grew out of the tourism and gastronomy sector, and of course all these partners are suffering badly at the moment, which means they plant less trees. On the other hand, it was a very timely wake up call to spread your wings a bit further, to not just go on one single industry, because, of course, as mentioned before, everybody can plant trees. You can plant a tree for every T-shirt you buy, or every wall you have every picture you have hanging on your wall, or whatever it is. And thanks to Corona, we got this wake up call, massive kick in the butt, and now spread our wings even further, which is great because it just makes everything more crisis resilient. And that is mostly important for the people in the project nations, because here in Germany, you have stuff like Kurzarbeit, you get money from the government if you can't work, which is great. We have a social network, but people in Ghana or something, they don't have that. So they rely on the job that we promised them. And the entire promise we make is that, hey, look, make sure you take care of the trees, don't cut them down, because we're going to pay you long term for just having these trees on your land. And of course, if we would have to stop that, that would be a tragedy. But
Yeah.
as mentioned, luckily, thanks to all the partners we have and all the different partners we have, we could keep all projects going, and are now, of course,
Cool.
looking forward to having less lockdown and have the gastronomy and hotel industry open again.
That's true. But do you think this kind of like raise of awareness and people becoming kind of more responsible and sustainable now will last post Corona, or do you think it's just going to drop again?
I personally think it will increase even further, because at the moment, every newsletter headline or every newspaper headline is Corona here, Corona there, Corona everywhere. And I think post-Corona, people will start focusing on sustainability again, not just think about Corona, but how do I make lifestyle changes, for example? Where should I go on vacation? Should I maybe take the train this year instead of the plane? And it just has to increase because there's no other way. If awareness doesn't keep increasing, we're in deep, deep trouble in 10 years' time. So there's just no other way. I mean, the nature catastrophes like the massive fires or floods and stuff, they will keep happening. And they will always keep reminding us how fragile our ecosystem is and how valuable, and that we need to take care of it.
Yeah, very true. So let's hope it lasts and increases. Okay, final question. Do you have any tips for our students that maybe want to go into the sustainability direction on how to engage and on how to, maybe get into the industry somehow?
Many tips. The most important, in my opinion, always is just do it. Don't overthink it. If you want to apply for a job, just do it. Call those people and say, look, it's me, Chris. I'm the guy you've been waiting for all your life. So you're lucky I called. And don't think that, when the job description says you need 20 years of experience, but you should be 18 years old or something. Don't get discouraged by all that stuff. I mean, with Clickatree, we also put out ambitious job descriptions, and we're happy when people apply who only match half the criteria. So, if you want to go after such a job, just do it. Call the people. Don't be hesitant or shy. If you want to make a change, then you need to be self-confident and then go out and make the change. If you feel like creating your own business, I personally recommend maybe getting a bit of business experience first, maybe as an employee. But again, if you do find yourself some mentors, someone who can help guide you, someone who has started a few businesses already before, and do it honestly. Now is the perfect time to start it. There's a massive boom in the sustainability industry, and as I said, I personally believe it will continue and it will increase. So go do it. Don't be shy.
Okay, awesome. So I think that's it for today. Thanks a lot for taking your time today. I think this was super interesting, and I hope the other students are also going to love it. I'm pretty sure they will. And I wish you a great day.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Olivia. It was my pleasure. To all the students, thank you for listening. I hope you learned something too. If you have any questions or need to know further, let me know. Just email me at chris@clickatree.com. I'm sure Olivia's going to share contact details. So don't hesitate to reach out and then go make the planet a better place.
Okay, great. Bye-bye.